Hey everybody, welcome to today's tarot deck review. I am going to be reviewing the Wild Unknown tarot deck for you today. And so I'm going to show you I think they consider this to be like, ooh, the limited edition, like special box, but I think that all of them come this way. So I ordered this on Amazon, I believe, but you can get them. I mean, it's a popular tarot deck. You can get it at metaphysical stores. I know in Portland they have a Wild Unknown store dedicated to this. They have, I've seen this sold in Urban Outfitters. It's not hard to find, is the point that I'm trying to make. Okay, so let's get into it. First of all, they put this sleeve on here. I think that the packaging is a little freaking extra. So this is, I mean, it's nice. Like I'm not dissing it at all, but it is like a hefty, this is one of the larger boxes that I've seen a tarot deck come in. So this is it. May you always be on the inner quest. Okay, so it's like, yes, they were very thoughtful and gave this deck like a lot of, it's very stylistic is what I will say, which I appreciate. Like they have the aesthetics down. So, you know, typical stuff, like a little bit about the author, how to use the deck, a card a day, different spreads that you can use. They do all of that, and then going into the descriptions. If you have watched more of these, then you know that I'm not particularly keen on looking through the guidebook, only because I have found that it actually stunts my own intuition when I look at all of the meanings of the cards. I prefer to go on my gut, not what the author was writing. So I haven't actually used the guidebook. That's totally just a personal preference. So yeah, that is just how I feel. That's just my practice that I have. Okay. Also, as far as price range goes, I've seen this deck run as high as $60, depending on where you're getting it from, and I've also seen it as low as $35. So it does take a little bit of shopping around to get a good deal on it. But I think that it's more expensive if you get it at like Urban Outfitters or at some type of retail store. But anyway, so this is the box. I do like this box. The little box I can totally get behind. I like this one quite a lot, actually. It's high quality. It keeps the cards protected and everything like that. So that's a nice thing. It has the pull strap, just like you saw in the larger box as well. So it's like they, you know, very detail oriented, the Wild Unknown tarot deck is. Now, in terms of size, I always use Morgan Greer as my baseline when it comes to finish and size. So you can see that the Wild Unknown is a little bit wider, like a smidge wider, a marginal, like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction taller or longer. So it's pretty close to a standard size. The finish is even more matte than the Morgan Greer. You can see there's a little bit of shine on this, and there's none on this at all. So it's really nice to photograph these cards because the light doesn't really make a difference in this deck. Everyone loves this deck. I mean, I get requests, like if I'm reading for a friend, they want me to use the Wild Unknown. Personally, like my personal preference, and it does have some scary imagery, so if you're sensitive to that, I don't recommend this for you necessarily. I do not recommend this deck for beginning tarot readers because there's not very much context. It's kind of like if you pull this card and you've never read tarot and you're not already really in tune with imagery and your own intuition, it can be a little bit challenging to have your own intuition shine through when you get cards that don't have very much context. I like this deck. I like it. I used to use it all the time, so quite frankly, I'm a little bit bored of it, but I think it's very pretty. It's very, I can read this deck really clearly, but I don't recommend this for people who are new to tarot. It can be a little bit more challenging, it's like, that's the sun. How are you really supposed to interpret that if you're brand new? So one of the things that I always recommend for new tarot readers is that they use a deck that has humanoid forms. Is typically easier to read in the beginning. So again, that's just a personal recommendation. I always say if you're really wanting to use the Wild Unknown Tarot deck, here's another one that for beginners would be hard to interpret, perhaps, unless you're really in tune with your intuition. I always recommend that beginners use a humanoid, or if you want this tarot deck, I would get a Morgan Greer or a Paulina Cassidy along with this deck. So that you can kind of get the feel for the traditional imagery, because those are easier to interpret cold. So I hope that makes sense. That's just a personal recommendation, but I mean, the death card in this deck is one of my favorites in any deck. I think that's such a badass card, but it's, it's a cool deck. I guess I don't have a very strong opinion on one way or another. It's just that's just me. I don't have super strong feelings for this deck, I suppose. In terms of its personality, I would say that this is one of the decks that you can kind of feel the illusion around it. It was really meant to be mystical and magical, and they really wanted to amplify that in the deck. And so you can definitely feel that, but this is one of the more serious decks that I have. This isn't a playful deck. This isn't a bubbly deck. At least I'm speaking from my interpretation and relationship with the cards, because I have a relationship with every single deck that I own. And so because of that, I would put this in the category of it being a more serious deck than other tarot decks that I have. So just keep that in mind. If you prefer things that are a little bit more intense or concise, then this would be good for you. If you feel like you need a little bit more context, because some of the cards, it can be challenging to interpret it, but they shuffle nicely. I do like the way that they, I like the finish. I like the size of the cards. My hands are smaller, so I don't have big hands. So I have some decks that have much larger cards, but these are a really good size. They're really close to being a standard tarot size, and the finish is excellent on them. The artwork is stellar. They're pretty cards. When I read them, the messages are clear and concise, and it's an overall good deck. But I would say that I don't recommend this deck for beginners, because there's not very much context behind them. That would be my only thing to say. So, all in all, what you're getting for anywhere between $35 and $60 is, you get the box that they come in, you get the guidebook, and then the bigger box to keep it all together. Sorry, I know that I'm a little bit too zoomed in, but that is what you're getting for the Wild Unknown. And that is all that I have for you. Don't forget, if you have another question about this deck, you're welcome to drop a comment and let me know what exactly you're wondering about the deck, and I will answer you as soon as I can. So feel free to ask a question if you need to, and until next time, I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.